About Columbine. We're going to be talking about the police forces in Colorado. We're going to be talking about his own encounters with trying to help people, trying to help Donna Taylor and Mark Taylor. And welcome, Ron. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. I'll still keep trying to get everything working here. We just won't be broadcasting on one particular station, but we are recording now, and give us a little history here, what we've been working on together, and what's happened to you because of it.
All right. Good morning, Clay. I got involved with the Columbine tragedy as a supporter of the families that have lost their children, and in that became very close friends with Mark and Donna. And during this 12-year, since the tragedy, we've continually had horrible experiences with having to deal with Mark's incarceration, forced incarceration. And in the meantime, I have been the one that has been kind of like, I guess I voluntarily was promoted to being the investigator. And in doing that, learned some horrible truths about Columbine, and I was sharing this information with Mark and Donna. He was kind of like going towards the Michael Moore crowd at the time. Obviously, Michael Moore took him under his wing and was telling him how wonderful he was going to have as a career, and was trying to raise him up as being a spokesperson when the government came in and took his mind.
And now, Michael Moore was also working for the left. He used Mark to get ammunition removed from Kmart's in Colorado. Is that correct?
Yeah, Michael Moore is a traitor to this country, and he was a traitor to Columbine in the fact that he took that story and spun it for his own purposes. And in fact, the story that he should have told would have been quite different than what he shared with the world on his Wanted for Columbine movie. And then we tried to seek his interest in this to correct the misinformation that he had given, and he has been nowhere to be found. Never gave Mark a dime.
Never gave him a dime, yes.
Attributed to it. And as far as I'm concerned, the man needs to be incarcerated for such a filthy act that he would pull on the American people. And the worst thing about it is our media will not deal with this, neither will our politicians, neither will our law enforcement. The only people that I find that are interested in this are people that do not have a job with the government, or people that don't have an agenda other than just getting to the truth.
Now you're talking about Columbine now. You're referring to Columbine now. That's why they don't want to deal with it.
Right.
Now Donna is up there, and so far I'm the only publicity she's got. I got her story into Veterans Today. We got enough pressure put on the governor here in Arizona to get Mark released. But I told her, now contact this agency, contact this agency. I put her in touch with the Denver Post and Channel 9 there in Denver, and neither one of them have gotten back to her yet. What's the deal on that? Why can't she get the publicity that she needs? And let me also point out
the latest chapter in it. Not only do they not give her any publicity, but at every opportunity they just try to destroy us. And in this case, they're just playing numb or mum or whatever, and they ignore us as if we have no, like we're talking off the top of our head and we haven't done anything. When in fact, it's quite different. I actually have a forensic psychologist who's doing a doctorate on Columbine, and she has taken time to look at our information, and she agrees wholeheartedly with us.
Now,
that there is some serious cover.
Okay, let me kind of frame this. I found
cover up. This is horrific information.
I found Wesley. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Your phone is breaking up a little bit because I've tried to say a few things and you couldn't hear me, so I don't know what's going on with that. Could be mine. could be mine, but I found Wesley Hoyt for him, and Wesley Hoyt, with the help of an attorney here in Arizona, did get Mark released from his confinement here for a year. She took him to an emergency room in the hospital or the medical industry, held him for a year, and they started drugging the man that sued and won, sued the drug companies for their role in Columbine and won, but who also never got a dime from that lawsuit. Now, Wesley Hoyt got him out and got him back into Colorado with Donna, but now I understand that Mark is back into the same situation, being drugged. He has a seizure brought on, I think, from the drugs, and then what do? They give him more drugs for to stop the seizures that he's getting. Oh, well, they took him off of the drugs too quick. And so far, Wesley Hoyt hasn't done anything except chew me out for talking to him the way, or his wife, the way I'm talking to you right now. And I'm sorry, I am not yelling. It's just my voice. Ron, what is the situation?
Clay, I get angry too, and it shows in my voice. And I apologize for that, but you can't help but getting angry. You're angry at the latest episode. If you'd only had a recount of everything that has gone on, you would be fuming angry. You would be blowing your top off, and you'd be screaming. So believe me, Clay, I understand where you're coming from. I don't think that's going to solve our issues here, but in this case, I do have some compassion for what you're going through.
What is the deal here? Why can't we get Mark into a normal life? I mean, he was normal when I saw him, and you met him. You've been around him. There's nothing wrong with this man. He wasn't shot in the head.
I'm totally confused about this because I assumed that in order for the government to take control of your life, that you would have had to express some form of threat to others or yourself, and in this case, he is meek as a lamb, has never shown any aggression towards anyone, and his mother wants to simply be left alone so she can attend to her child, and these people will not stay out of her life. And in doing that, his freedom has been stripped from him for no reason at all, except for the fact, and Clay, just hold on for a second. We always talk about what's immediately happening, and obviously it's important to get him out, but really the reason that he's in there will explain everything about why we can't get him out. And the reason he's in there is because he was explaining the truth about why he was shot at Columbine. The poor boy was simply standing up for what has happened, and they don't like to hear what happened. And in this case, all Mark did was go to school that day, and he got in the crossfire between the sheriff's department and the two boys that they had raped. Okay, now that's not real happy information, and it's not politically correct, but it is the truth. And in this case, they wanted to shut him up because he was getting some, he was kind of creating a little firestorm around himself, and they decided at that point they're going to shut it down. So that's why he was incarcerated the first time in Colorado, is because they wanted to strip him of his mind, which they were quite successful of. Now, obviously, I guess they didn't know that there were people surrounding him that did care enough to stand up for him, and we are still telling the American people what they need to know and what Mark was trying to tell them, that the cops in Colorado are, can I use the F word? No, I won't. They are having sex with our children. Okay, now this goes on to why the two boys were provoked to have caused Columbine, and it also spilled over into our second school tragedy, which was the Flat Canyon tragedy, in which they claimed that a camper came into the school, and in this case, what happened was the man started molesting the girls that he had on a hit list, and little Emily Pease, who I knew, was shot in the crossfire. Now, I'm tired of dead kids because the cops are molesting our children, and in this case, that they claim that this was just nothing more than a haphazard camper that decided to do this. No, That man was taking the law into his own hands, and he was getting even for what had happened to his own daughter. He was an estranged father. So we've got 2 school shootings in this same area. Now, we've had 4 total. The 2 that I'm talking about were the first 2. We don't know a whole lot about the other 2. One of them being 2 children that got winged and survived. And the 4th one that nobody talks about, which is quite serious, is an elementary school teacher that took a low caliber gun into the class and apparently didn't hurt anyone. But we've got a string of school shootings in this county. And we have also a string of not only police officers, but we've got school administrators, we've got people on school boards. We have a whole mess of people that seem to think that they like to have children because nobody will do anything about it. And that's the key to the whole problem, is the fact that we have children that are being molested by cops here, and I don't think I'm going to stand for that. Are you still there?
Yeah,
Charles?
I'm here. I'm listening.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what happened here is I own a restaurant, and the kids here, as I was studying the Flat Canyon tragedy, I had learned that this parent, I mean, I can, produce this. Anybody wants to see the hard copy, I can produce everything and document everything. But in this case, we learned that this school shooter wasn't just a haphazard person that was off balance. He was actually a man getting even for conduct on becoming a police officer. And then the kids at my restaurant came forward and they told me that the police officer, who was the school resource officer, was getting girls pregnant. Okay, that ties it up for me. Let's get an investigation of the sheriff's department and find out why this police officer was getting girls pregnant and then was allowed to walk on down the road as if he hadn't done anything. I'm sick and tired of our sheriff's department thinking our children are play toys. And I'm also getting real sick and tired of the community I live in that seems to think that that's acceptable. And I'm also getting tired of a country that's so damn concerned about their back pocket and their wallet that they won't take care of their own children. Because I've gone to a huge amount of people that are in the position of trust. Anyone who is in the position of trust I share this with, and I have hard documentation that the 2 boys at Columbine were molested. When I share this with them,
let me stop you right there. Hold on. Let me stop you right there for a moment and ask, what information did Mark Taylor bring out about? I know that his part of his thing was about the drugs that they were on, but what else did he know that would cause him to be targeted by the medical industry, by the doctors here? I mean, this is the problem. Wesley Hoyt wants to leave it all up to the doctors, and I'm saying that, Wesley, the doctors are the problem. The drugs are the problem. So who?
We believe that the doctors are working in concert with the government to shut Mark out.
Why would the government, which is a too loose a term for me, why would the government or somebody in the government be so opposed to a survivor of a hell of a tragedy? Why? I'm not seeing that.
Because he was out there telling people during his little speeches that the cops caused the tragedy because they had sex with the 2 boys, caused them to go over the top, and then they end up attacking. What happened here was the 2 killers decided to get even for the conduct during this arrest and chose their school as the place to hold what they were considering at the time the event of all events. They wanted that to come down. It was supposed to have ended up on the same day as the Oklahoma City tragedy, and it was supposed to be the same day as the Waco. And in this case, they delayed it a day because they couldn't get the ammunition, and it happened to be the day after. So they had a delay in their plans, or you would have understood it a little bit better. They considered the Oklahoma City tragedy day, which is the April 19th date, as being, I guess, get even day. Well, it turns out that they delayed it a day, and then the press came along and tried to spin it as if because this was Hitler's birthday, that these two boys were advocates of Hitler. Now, I don't know what to tell you, but you don't take a kid because he's in German class and likes some German music and try to create a Hitler around him, because he did not have any interest in Hitler particularly. You know, I mean, it'd be like taking some kid that learns how to make a swastika and he put a swastika on his book cover or something, and now he's a, you know, in order to be an advocate of Hitler, you would have had to have really studied what Hitler's role and goal and all this stuff is, and these kids have no interest in any of that.
Yeah, then you'd be like John. Then you'd be like John F. Kennedy, who said Hitler will be recorded in history as one of the greatest men to have ever lived. So, yeah.
Right.
And by the way, I've got.
We even followed the pattern of information, and when the world was watching Columbine, they came out and they claimed that Columbine was nothing more than this group called the Trenchcoat Mafia that was having fights with the local popular jocks in the school. Well, it turns out that the guy that said that didn't even go to Columbine High School, and they knew it. This guy's name was Mike Smith. Isn't that convenient? And Mike Smith got in front of the camera and told this juicy story of how there was this gang rivalry, and in fact that was a lie. We found out that Mike Smith, and the media found out, that Mike Smith did not go to Columbine High School because he said that he had played on the basketball team, and one of the Rocky Mountain News reporters said that can't be true. My son plays that position. So they took the lie, they took the story, the spin doctor disappeared, never to be found again, but they kept the lie going that it was about the kids at the school, when in fact it was about an arrest that the kids had experienced. They had an opportunity to stop the boys because they had already prepared a search warrant for Harris's house, one of the killers. And in this case, the search warrant was never performed because they claimed that they didn't have enough information. They had plenty of information. We have all those records. Every bit of information you would need to have stopped those boys was in their file, but they didn't do it because these boys had been raped by the cops, and they were trying to protect the reputation of their sheriff's department. And so if you're wondering how serious this got, the people that should have served the search warrant were doing it deliberately. It wasn't, as they claimed, the negligence. So anyone who had involved in covering up the rape also would have to be considered as complicit to murder, because that's what they allowed to happen. Columbine would not have happened if the police department had come in and done their job instead of protecting themselves. Now, we know that the two boys had issues with that arrest because we found their written motive. The written motive was in a yearbook entry where Dylan wrote to Eric, and he talked about what their plans were. In this case, he said they would be killing cops, blowing up things. It was going to be the holy April morning of natural-born killers, which ties it in. And then he said what their role in this was, and that was to get even for their arrest. And if you can't understand that we have to listen to the kids when we come up with what happened there instead of the spin, then you know, we can't get anywhere here. You have to go to the source of who did it in order to know why it was done, and they will not accept the fact that the two boys were getting even for their arrest. And we know that. And we found a picture that was drawn while Harris was under arrest that appears to be in stick figure form. To anyone who doesn't have an agenda, it looks like a cop raping a kid. It has someone on all fours, and then it has someone backed up, you know, to the back of this person on all fours with a star on his chest. We argued with the FBI and the local officials, and we've shown this to the media, and they want to think that it's a cop walking a dog or any other excuse. Later we found there was a reinvestigation of Columbine done by the Colorado Springs group, which is the El Paso Sheriff's Department. And in this case, we found that same picture that was in page 10,589 of the Columbine report. This time it's in the El Paso report, but they did us a favor by labeling it. The sheriff that arrested those boys was named Tim Walsh. They labeled that picture Walsh Butt Rape TXT. Now, what else do you people need to know that that does not belong in the file of a school shooting? And it's time to investigate file walsh.rape.text. So that's where we're at here. Please, anybody out there that really loves children and would prefer that they not be raped and then be provoked into having school shootings, I'd sure like to have their help. And in the case of Mark, that's why he was incarcerated, because he knew these things and he was sharing it with the public, and they decided to shut him up. And so far they haven't shut me up, even though they just assaulted me some time ago and threw me down on the deck of my restaurant and then hauled me off and then came back the second time and rearrested me for no reason. So I've had 2 false arrests. Have been worked over pretty good here, so you can tell I'm just right at the... You talk about your anger, Clay. You don't know what anger is.
Well, how did they come after you? Now, you know...
Well, I was researching the school officer that was getting the girls pregnant, okay? That's why they came after me.
And that's and one of these people that you're talking about is the sheriff of your county, right?
Well, yeah, this joker, he's got a long list of this kind of conduct. I did my research for what I could. The newspaper here is corrupt, so I went to a newspaper that writes out of Denver, the Westward. And in the Westward, if you just simply get on their website and type in Oaks Steps Forward, it's O-A-P-E-S, Steps Forward, you'll read an article where it's a cover-up article, but then obviously this is an article that they're trying to smooth over this dirty rumor that the police officer was getting girls pregnant. Well, I discovered there was 2 girls that got pregnant, just talking around the town here, and that only covers one of them. That Oaks is the one that steps forward. She claims she was barely old enough, but that's not the conduct of a married man in his mid-30s that's supposed to be in a position of trust with the high school, having sex with anyone. You know what I'm saying? These people are out of their minds to think that that's the kind of people we want to represent the police department around our children. Just recently, they had the 2 coaches happen to be cops that were coaching the girls' swim team. They can't find a woman here to coach the girls' swim team. They got one of them drunk at a party, and they got a little trouble for that, and had a little change of school resource officers there. But it goes back, I found an article in '94 where they were having sex with a 14-year-old. Let her drive a police car, she drove her to a fence. When is this kind of stuff going to have to stop? What is it that makes these people think they have a right to do anything with our children but be respectful? I don't understand why this town thinks that it's okay, and other than the fact that I believe that our election system is broken here, I don't imagine how this sheriff ever got reelected, because everyone I talk to here talks about him in disdain, and I just don't quite understand it. We've got us a police state going here, and they think they've got the right to have sex with our children. And I don't think they have that right, so I'm going to stand against it. And I would hope that the rest of this country understands that this is the battle that we need to fight, even more than we have to fight off the banksters and all the corrupt Wall Street people. We've got to protect our children. What's wrong with you people that you don't understand this? That's your most important asset, is your child.
You know, one of the interesting
Nobody stands up. The damn teachers, they'll go down and they'll stand in front of the courthouse.
Okay, all right, Ron.
Ron, money, but they will never stand up for children.
Ron, let's try to focus here. All right, you're getting angry, and you're not listening to me either. I'm trying to understand here what's going on. What's going on with Donna Taylor right now and Mark Taylor? How about your friend there?
I truly think that the reason you asked me was why were they keeping Mark drugged is you needed to know what the background of all this is.
That's fine. You gave me that. I appreciate that.
And you're right and they're wrong. This is what happens.
All right.
So, this is the fallout. You're dealing with a fallout. We're dealing with what caused the fallout. And I think you need to know that.
Okay, I think you've made that real clear here. Now I want to focus on something. Who's this lady that you have with her? You said she's a forensic psychologist. Is she available?
Yeah, she's here. she's tired to talk to you, so let me turn it over to her. She can probably share this.
All right,
without
what is her name? Jesus Christ, Ron? What is her name,
no, here,
please?
you talk to her, Jesus Christ, okay? You're Jesus Christ.
Hello?
Hello, ma'am. What is your name, please?
My name is Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. And give me a little bit of your background, Lisa.
Well, I'm working on my dissertation with mass murders, and I ended up stumbling on Columbine. Got a double master's, working on another one, forensic psychology. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. And are you have you been brought up to date with Mark Taylor's story? You're pretty aware of that. I'm a little at a loss here. I have never seen Michael Moore's Bowling for Columbine, so I don't know what kind of spin he put on that. But
oh, you're not missing much.
Yeah, I didn't think I missed it much. But I do know that he didn't give Mark any money. He hasn't been any help to Mark Taylor or his mother, Donna Taylor. And I felt like I had succeeded in rescuing Mark from here with Wesley Hoyt's help. But he has been put, as far as I can tell from down here, that he's been put in the same situation he was here in Arizona, in Colorado, and they are continuing to drug someone that's spoken out about the drugging of someone.
Yes, he's back in the exact same situation. And it's pretty pathetic.
And
the reason for that, Donna told me that, you know, he was actually put in there because I was asking, I was like, why are they holding him in here? And she was telling me that the only reason was because he doesn't talk. But, I mean, he's talking, you know, and I'm thinking, well, that's not a valid reason to forcefully, you know, commit somebody just because they don't want to talk. I mean, last time I looked, that was illegal.
And somehow, you know, I disagree with Wesley. I appreciate everything he's done. I appreciate what he's going through right now. He's trying to rescue Edgar Steele from a life sentence, who's been framed by the FBI and the Southern Poverty Law to on a attempted murder charge, or a murder for hire charge. And so I know Wesley has got his hands full, and I'm not here to make problems with Wesley. But I don't think Wesley understands that this is the doctors are more of a problem. He said, well, just, you know, the doctors are trying to do this, they're trying to do this, they got to do this, they got to do this, they got to do. Well, they've been doing that for a year, and it ain't working because he's still on the drugs, and the drugs they have him on now. In May 2004. I was run over, hit. They tried to kill me. And when that failed, they put me in a hospital and kept me drugged for 3 months on the same crap that they're giving Mark now. And the idea was to make me incompetent, to get guardianship of me, and to take control and arrange for long-term care. And this is what's happening to Mark right now. Their only miscalculation with me was thinking they could overdose Clay Douglas.
Well, and the thing is with Mark, too, from what I understand, is when he was first put in, he was given a drug to be treated for schizophrenia. But he was never diagnosed as schizophrenic. And, you know, that just, you know, and I believe it, like what you said. It's like, you know, that's exactly what they want to do. It's like they want to just drug you, take control, and then, you know, you're just a little drone and easier to deal with. And that's wrong and illegal. At least I thought. I thought we had a Bill of Rights or something like that here in America.